to get started here on our next session. Thank you all who are still here. I see there's a huge amount of people that have been attending this so far, and I'm very pleased to hear that. It's going to help you out. It's going to help us out as far as getting you moved over and making that experience as easy and good as possible. There was some discussion on attachments, and I just want to kind of go through that real quick here while we're talking about it. So I'm going to show you some different things that you can do with attachments. You could email over. You can also actually just upload it here by clicking Add Attachment. One of the cool things you can do is, I know people have been asking for a long time, I want to send an attachment in an email. You can't do it the way you would normally do it in your email program. But what you can do is you can come down to this attachment. You can right click on it and say, I want to copy the link location. Let's see, image location. I think that's what we want. And then you can say, here is something. And you can actually send that link to a customer or another worker, and they could actually access it then. Because if I were to take this link and I were to put it up in my browser, and I'm going to close a couple of these tabs up here. I'll leave that one open. There we go. There's my, it's not technically a file attached to an email, but what you can do is, something that you did attach, you can then send to somebody pretty easily. They have to access it through their browser, and then they can download it from there. But that is something that you can do. Most of the time with attachments here, you're going to be doing it just to kind of reserve stuff for your own well-being and knowledge. And I think Nikki mentioned that attachments currently is only on leads, but we do have plans to add those to other things as well. So like customers, workers, and rentals, and allow you to attach things there. It starts to get into a storage issue on our server in some cases, so we need to think through the best way to do that so that we can store all that data for you without having any issues and keep it well backed up and so forth. But anyway, that is something that we're planning on doing, so that is something that will be coming. But let's get into our inventory. This session is it's all about working with inventory. So let's see here. Okay, so when you're working with your inventory, I know some of you are going to have really, really large inventories. Some of you are going to have small inventories. You're going to probably be using this filtering quite a bit, okay, to find what you're looking for. Now, it's very easy. If I'm looking for an obstacle course, I can just type in a few letters, and I'm going to immediately see some of these, some of the course options here that I have. Now, I didn't go into too much detail on the filtering, and we're going to do that a lot in the next session. But you can see that if I were to click on one of these, it's going to help me narrow my search down. So maybe if I click on this, it's going to give me exactly that, and the name has to match it. But if I click on the keyword one, it's going to let me do both, okay? So if I had a large list there, I could then come back here and add an additional filter to it. So if I was looking for one that had 48 in it, I could add an additional filter, and now it has to match all those filters, so it's only finding one, okay, because there's 2 filters applied. If I match any, now I'm seeing all of these. If I had another item that didn't have these letters in it, but had the 48 in it, that would show up as well in this case. So, and then I can clear the filters at any time. We also have some preset filters in here, quite a few. For the inventory, because there are different things that you might want to see, like you just want to look at accessories, or possibly you might want to search through your inactive items. So you can click inactive, and then you could search through those. So there's a lot you can do with that. Vendor items, shared items. So let me just explain the difference there. Vendor items would be the items that you subcontract from other people, and shared items would be items that you're actually allowing other people to subcontract through the InflatableOffice system. And we have a whole system set up for that. If you're not aware of it, and you're interested in using it, get in touch with us. We'll put you in contact with some of our videos on that and give you more information. So we also have consumable items now. So if it's something that is more of an item that you're selling, like for instance, snow cone cups or something, you're not renting those out. I don't think there's anyone here that is collecting the cups at the end of the event and washing them. Those are the sort of things you need to keep track of your inventory for that, and that is something you can do in the Office upgrade, which you could not do before. And then available vendor items. These are items that other people are sharing, and they're available to you to use inside of the IO system. So look for more stuff to happen with that. We're going to be doing a lot more with the vendor side of the stuff over time. But we're going to go through some of a little bit more kind of the basics of the inventory and how to transition to this new inventory system. I want to draw your attention here to we offer this report option here, so you can do an export and you can define columns and then do an export if you want to look through or even do a print and look through your list of items and make changes to those, or at least make sure that things are set the way you want them to be. It gets a little tough with inventory because we have a lot of one-to-many situations, and let me just describe what that means. A one-to-many situation, and let me see if I can find a good example here. Let's do chair covers. So in this case, chair cover is one item, but it has many accessories to it. And in a one-to-many item, how would we display on a single row of an export all of these different items? We can potentially put them in as comma, like just put them in the same cell. And that's not so bad. But when you look at pricing, we could have very complicated pricing where it has all sorts of different changes as you, are working through this. We could have a very complicated pricing, and it's very hard to show that pricing because we're showing it in a single row. So we're doing what we can to come up with good ways to do your exports. So just be patient with us on that. But I did want to draw attention to the fact that you can do some exporting now on your own with your inventory, and you can set up some reports to view this in different ways. So that is available. But let's go ahead and look here at some of the sections that before I get there, I want to draw your attention to some of these columns because these are new. Some of these are new. So we're trying to show you some additional things here that we didn't show before in these columns. And like I said, you can adjust these to your liking to some degree, and we can add more capability for that as you ask. But you can see we're showing if it's a consumable item or not. We're giving you the category. We've always done that. We show you accessories. If they're accessories, we put accessory as the category since if an accessory cannot have a category. So we show accessory down here. As we discussed before, you can have multiple categories on each item now, and that's new. We are only showing the first category in here. Okay, so there may be multiple categories. We're only showing the first one, just so you know. If it's a vendor item or a parent, if you're doing like a structure, I don't know if maybe some of you don't know what structured items are, but if that's the case, it will show you if it's a parent or a vendor item. Very useful if you want to do some sorting by that field. Packages, you can set up packages now inside of the rental section, and we will show you if something is considered a package. And I know we have quite a bit of capability as far as specials and packages and discounts go, but I think we have a lot of room to grow there. And part of our growth with that is moving some of that over into this inventory section because what we're able to do is apply more complicated pricing to those packages, and by doing it that way. So that's something you can do in the old interface. We are actually highlighting these packages in this case. So let's go ahead and click through here and take a look. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here that you can do. Yeah, so some of the things that we can do on this context menu here with anything that we've selected is we can do our own, we can convert it to an accessory, and we can also share it with other people using IO. So there's some things you can do. let's just check on accessories to see if we convert it back. Oh yeah, so we can convert it back to an item as well. So some of these will give you prompts when we choose them. That'll kind of help guide you through that process. And then we also have some additional ways to add inventory. If you want to do a specific thing like a gift card, you should go through there and use that because it's going to be a lot easier for you to add the item. Accessories, a child item, consumables, all these, what they do when you click these is they kind of set some defaults on that item that just make it a little easier. So you don't have to go and find those fields and mark those properties. So, but in a typical inventory item, you're just going to click add inventory. But for now, I think we're just going to look at one because it's a little easier. And it looks like I do have a question from Shona, so I'll go ahead and take that question right now. We'll get back to
okay. Just on like the back, like on the inventory page, it would be really helpful if we would be able to see if it's an inactive or an active item. I'm not sure if there's a way that you can see both inactive and active items all at the same time. But we recently just added a whole bunch of inventory and we found that we were duplicating things because you can't see inactive and active at the same time, or you can't, when you're looking at an item, you can't see if it's inactive or active. Like you can't tell the difference.
So
that's all I got.
All of these are active items. And that's the default view. And to view inactive, you come in here and mark inactive. You're correct in saying that we don't have a way to view both at the same time. I suppose we could look at that. I'm just making a note here. But for now, just know that all of them that are showing here are active unless you choose this inactive. That's the only way you're going to see inactive ones. There is a way to see what is something that's active or inactive when you're looking at the item. What we would do is just come here, go down to the advanced section, and right here is the toggle for active or inactive. So if that's clear, it's inactive. If it's not clear, it's active. So, oops, go back into there. Okay, so I see, Nikki, that you have a question, but I'm going to try to get through this and then take the questions at the end because I'm just fearful that we won't get as far as we want to get. So I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand for now, and you can bring it back up later. So let me show you here some of the things that are different and how to kind of navigate through working with your inventory. A lot of these fields are going to be very similar. We talked about a few different features that we've added to this. For instance, consumable, which it happens to be here, and that's because it is related to the quantity. But a lot of these fields are going to be very similar. So this is, I probably should have removed this. This is just an optional field that someone was playing with, it looks like, on the demo account. And they put that in this section. So optional fields you can add to almost anything anymore. Leads, customers, inventory, and workers. And you can choose in most cases what section you want it to show up in. And so, in this case, they chose to show it in this top section here. But normally this wouldn't be here unless you put it there. So one of the things I wanted to show you here, though, is this this quote request page. It's kind of like your checkout or your checkout experience that your customer is going to go through. In general, most of you have one experience that they go through. Some of you guys are doing multiple. So we because we can do multiple categories, you can also set the category per that checkout experience. So you could have one brand or company or website that has a water slide listed in water slides, and maybe on the other one you want to just list it in slides. So you can do that. You can choose what page. In this demo account, we have like our rental business, and then we have our wedding business. So maybe we may want to list it slightly different in the two. So we would just select that page, and then we would pick the category we wanted to list it in on that checkout experience. And that's how you add additional categories. Now, if you want to add multiple categories to a single page, that's possible to do. All you do is put the same page in and choose the category. Now, one of the things that gets me even sometimes is you have to click this add button. Without clicking that, when you go to save, it's gonna not save it, but most of the times I think it's gonna give you an error saying that you forgot to click it, and we're not sure you want to or not, but you didn't click it. So that's something to be aware of. Okay. Next section down here is just kind of details. Again, you get multiple images. You can now delete images. We actually didn't have a way to do that before, but you can do that by just clicking this X and it'll remove the image if you want to do that. A lot of this stuff right here is going to be things that you're going to use if you're doing websites with us, where you want to put information here, pictures, images, descriptions that are going to transfer over to your website. So that's kind of important stuff that you might want to fill some of these additional pictures in if you're doing a website. The next section here is a relationship section, and I guess I'm glad I picked this 10 by 10 tent because this is an example of a structured item. Structured items, if you don't know what those are, basically they're items that depend upon each other. They're different than accessories from the standpoint of they actually are kind of built or made up of each other. So this tent is a good example because we may have, it looks like in our system here, we have, let's see, this is the 10 by 10 tent. So we have 8 of these. So if we have 8 10 by 10 tents, so we can make a certain number of 20 by 20s. We can make 4 of them. If we take, let's see, is that right? No, we use 4 10 by 10 tents to make a 20 by 20 tent, which means since we have 8, we could actually make 2 20 by 20 tents. And then, similarly, we have this other item here that is based upon this 10 by 10 tent that we're looking at right now. So this section, you should see a lot. Hopefully this will be a lot easier for you to work with when you're going to try to add structured items. You just simply search for the item. Let's just grab one here. It doesn't make any sense, but we're going to put one on here. I'm going to click add. And when available, what we'll get is an input box here where we can actually put in like the quantities that we want to build that item with. And in this case, it's not available. I'd have to think through why it was that one wasn't showing available. Again, that was not a great example. Probably because I'm working on a base level item. So if we were to open up the 20 by 20, it would probably let me add that other item as a structured item. So we show the relationship here. If you don't know, the parent is kind of the main guy, the one that has the most, the kind of the biggest or the most encompassing unit that contains the most pieces. A sibling would be similar to so we have parents, we have one parent, and then we have multiple children, and so a sibling is just another child item, and then cousin items. What those are in our system are items that are independent of each other but have the same exact name, and we identify those as being special because when we're showing that to the customer, we don't show them 2 items with the same name. We actually combine them and combine the quantity to show it to the customer. However, on your system in the back end, we separate those back out so that you can see the difference because you may be tracking serial numbers, or possibly you may have a certain number that are yours, and then after that you go out and you contract out for the other ones potentially. So some of this area is going to continue to get revised and improved to make it a little clearer, because I think it can be a little clearer than what it is. But we've made really great steps with this version where you're not putting in letters and commas to identify a structure of an item anymore. You're simply putting in a number and how many it requires to build that unit. So extra details, it's just some more details that you might use to keep track of things or to show in a website or in a contract and so forth. Again, we have an example here of a optional field that someone has added. The next section, a very important section, our pricing section, made some changes to this just to hopefully make it easier for you to price your items. I wanted to draw attention to this search field right here. If we were to want to price this item the same as another item all the time, we would come in here and we would say, we would choose that. So a good example of this would be like if you were renting out bounce houses, you may have 10 different variations, but they're always going to be priced the same. They're always the same size. You just always price them the same. In that case, you would want to use this technique to identify or to choose your pricing. Because what that does is it allows you to associate the same price with all of these items. And so later on, as 2021 starts and you're trying to make up for your losses in 2020, you may want to raise your rates a little bit. You just change your price in one spot and it raises all of those 10 items that were linked to that price. So it's a really big convenient thing. However, if you want to make a specific price for each item, you can still do that. We do that. We allow you to do it. We've made really good improvements on finding the prices in the system. You can see this price is named tent. If we were to click here, we could actually go to the price, but I'm going to open in a new tab. So there's the price. Again, we're using the same sort of charting to help you see what the price is. And make sure you don't make any mistakes. What you don't want to do, and we see people do this, is we see people actually having their price go backwards over time. Like it's priced properly for maybe the first day, and then it drops down after that to something weird. Pay attention to that when you're building your pricing, because this chart will show you all of that stuff. So just keep your eye on that because you don't want to do that. But if we were to click here and clear this price, we could start typing in something else. And I'm not sure what I have in here, but okay, I found a match on a couple. But we can search for the different prices that we have already saved in the system, and then we can choose them. So that's another alternative. So instead of typing in, I want to price it the same as, my all sport bouncer, the other option is to just, if we know what the price name is, we come down here and we start to type it and we can choose it, because we don't need to create it again if it already exists. Now, again, you only want to do that when those items will always be priced the same. You don't want to mix. Just because your slide right now is priced the same as your bounce house, you probably want to do that, because in the future, those prices may diverge, not always be the same. So in the case of them not being the same, we just type in whatever we want to call it. And then we set our price however we want, and then we can save it. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth with conditional pricing, because like I said, we are going to be making some changes to this, but we can choose conditions similarly to the old system. However, once you do a day of the week condition, you cannot also add one of these at this point. In the future, you will be able to do that, and we're going to allow you to do even more conditions. Again, same sort of thing where you can search for your price. You can make a new price if you want. So it'll lead you through that process. And if we choose a different thing here, you can see we have different values, delivery type, and so forth. So after the pricing section, we have the packing list section. And now some of the differences with this are, there's quite a few differences with the packing list, and primarily our intent was to make it easier for you to build packing lists. So we can still copy a packing list from another item. So if I were to type in some other item and click it, it's gonna, I evidently don't have a packing list on that item, but it's gonna fill this in down below here. So it's the exact same items, and then I can make adjustments to them if we want. So let's see if I can find one that has one. I'll try one more time. I'm guessing I'm not going to find one. Okay. Oh, well. What it's going to do is it's going to add this in. This demo account doesn't have any of those set, but it used to be that you had to kind of like type in the information the way you wanted it to be. And it wasn't very clear. You had to use different symbols to get it to work the way you wanted. Now we've kind of separated everything out. So you can type the quantity, you can type an item, And then you can say whether you want this to be grouped or not grouped when we show you a grouped packing list. So you can do that. And then this is one of the major differences. It used to be that you would create a packing list for a default surface. And then after that, you would make specific packing lists for other surfaces. I think this makes it a little easier here. So you would, if you want it to be, if every time this tent goes out, it's going to be 2 stakes, you would set it up like that. However, if you wanted to say, well, we're only going to do stakes on grass, you would set it up that way. You can do multiple. So you can say, I want this one to be for concrete and pavement. And so I only have to type it in once. I don't even know if that's what you would use, water barrels maybe. But so that makes it hopefully a little easier to add them. And you can see easily, like, this is the packing list item that goes with these different surfaces. Right now, you can't edit in any of these lists typically. That's something that we're hoping to change right now. You just have to remove it if you want to make a change to it and re-add it. So that's the way the packing lists work right now. Down here, we have the accessories, add-ons, banners, and different options. We show you like a very simple view to start with. Trying to think of an accessory we have. I think chair covers or something. Yes. So you start typing, it's going to show you. Again, you can add a rental as an accessory if you wanted. That will work. But once you choose it, you add it. We can go and show you. That's typically all most people are going to do when they're working with accessories. But we have your advanced look as well. And this will look maybe a little similar to what you used to see on the old version. So here we show a bunch of different additional options for you. And again, what I'm trying to do is show you the changes in this Office upgrade and not really get down into the details of the way things work necessarily. But you can ask me those questions later if you like. So I'm not going to go into what all of these mean. But if you're currently using these sort of advanced options for accessories, they are still available. You can still access them just by choosing this link right here. So I guess one of the big differences that we made is you can put pictures in here. So what we're going to do, so when we have items that are accessories linked to other items, you could have an accessory linked to 2 very different items. The picture for those might look very different when they're used with whatever item they're used with. So you may want to have a different picture. Maybe this bow is useful on a chair, or maybe use it as a centerpiece or something. I don't know. But you would have 2 very different pictures in that case. So what we do by default is we just bring in your standard default picture that you've set on this item, and we show it to you. However, if you want to do a special picture, you just click here and you can pick another picture. Okay, that's how that works. The reason we show this picture to you is because we're going to show you that by default, we're going to use whatever it is you put on this item. And secondarily, you can update that. Same thing with the description. We will use whatever description is on this item by default, unless you type in something specific here. Okay, that's kind of how that works. Same way it worked on the old system. I think the difference is that we try to make it a little more clear how it's working. Okay. Next section is the upselling section. I would say this is probably one of those sections that gets ignored quite a bit. And I don't know, maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be. But let me tell you a minute what this does. It basically will show different things that you would like to push if someone's renting this item that we're looking at right now. It does that, I think, on our WordPress sites by listing those items on the bottom of the item page to kind of show them off as things they might be interested in. And then it also, during their checkout experience, will show these items at some point and kind of ask them if they would like to add these to their order. So that's something that you could do on the old one as well. Again, the difference is we're using these little search boxes a lot now because we know so many people have so much data showing the data, and when you check a checkbox doesn't work so well. So we've really transitioned to a bunch of these search boxes. But I could add a thing very easily here. Just click it, and that's it. Next section are advanced settings. This is where we get in the weeds a little bit. There's a lot that you can do with InflatableOffice. Probably most of you don't mess around in here very much. I think one of the things that you'll notice as you look at the Office upgrade is that we have tried to bring the most common things to the top and to the forefront. And we've tried to kind of hide some of the things that are not as commonly used to kind of prevent people from having so many questions about it or struggling to understand it all. For instance, our increment. I think before we set that near the quantity, because it is related to the quantity. How many do you want to rent? Do you want to rent 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, maybe in the case of certain items, we require that you rent in tens. You can rent 10 of these or 20 of these or 30 of these. That's where you would set the increment. So it is related to the quantity. However, it's so infrequently used that we thought it made more sense to put it down here. So if there's something that you're looking for and it's not where it normally is, where you're used to seeing it, I would check the advanced area to see if you can find it there. As always, we have our little help bubbles. You can see in this advanced section, almost everything has a help bubble to kind of show you more information about these fields and what they do. So let's see here. Is there anything specific I want to cover on this one? I think you'll notice, and especially with location, multi-location accounts, we have separated. You don't have to click the pop-up buttons anymore to get to those. Same thing with these pages. You can select them right on the screen, so that makes that a little simpler. I think one of the big changes is this option here. Okay, there's a change here too. So we talked about sharing items. You can share with the entire InflatableOffice universe, or you can specify certain companies that use InflatableOffice that you'd like to share with. And I'm trying to, you can search in here basically and find a company. I don't know if there's, okay, so here's one here, you can find it. And it shows you kind of how far away it is as well. And you could add that. And then that company would be the only company that could see that shared item. Once I choose that, it becomes a shared item. By default, they're not shared. We can also share with everybody that's using InflatableOffice if you want. And I think it's a good way to potentially get additional revenue by subcontracting out some of your equipment. So the other thing that I want to show you here is new to this version is setting a discount option on rental items. So it used to be that you had to do that entirely through your discounts and your promotions and fees area. Now you can specifically come into an item and say, I either want to allow all discounts, only the admin, meaning the customer can't apply any discount, or not even any of my staff can apply a discount to this item. So it's possible to set these here. So if you run into an issue where you're putting in a 10% discount and you're like, why is this not adding up? It's possible that someone has come in here and said, I don't want to allow discounts on this item. So that's something to check. And I think it makes it just a lot easier as opposed to finding that item on each of your promotions and marking that it cannot be discounted. Now you simply come to the item and set it, and it won't allow any discounts. So we also have this cost history section here in the advanced area. This is for determining your ROI. We do an ROI for a period as well as entire ROI over the life of the item. So if you want us to try to show you that information to know what items you might want to buy more of because they are a great return on your investment. You're going to have to tell us some of your cost information. So what you would do is, and I'll go into a little detail on this because I don't think many people use it, but you will go in here and you'll put in when you purchased it, how much you spent, and the system will calculate the rest for you. When I say ROI for the period, what we're trying to do is trying to show you in that time period what your ROI was. Maybe you then have a big repair that you have to do, and maybe that drops your ROI for that next period. Most people use basically their global ROI value, which would be showing up here, as well as in your statistics reports, so that you would see in your dashboard. And then you can put a note in here about whatever that cost was if you want. So safety stuff right here. And we also have some additional information here on entering, and these are primarily used for templates. So if you wanted to put some certain information that only shows on the contract when it's filled in here, you can do that. Maybe you have operator instructions and you want that to print on the packing list only when it exists. That's why you would use these different fields. So last couple sections here. This is the leads section here where we're going to show you a certain number of leads. And I can't recall if we allow you to continue to scroll. I think we show a certain number, and then after that, you can click a button to load more. So if you're trying to research and see when this was out last, and we show all different statuses in here as well. So even if it's a quote, it's going to show. So this is somewhat useful. I think probably you're going to get a better report by looking at the leads page and filtering that list as opposed to doing it in here. But we did make some of that available. And then the log. In the log here, you can see that we have a number of WordPress pushes here, different changes to inventory. And I didn't go over this when we were talking through the way the new Office upgrade works, but I probably should have. If you click a log entry, you're going to see the changes in more detail. Okay, so by default, it's just going to show you these entries. And when we have more detail, you can click it and you can see. So some of this stuff is kind of garbage because this is a demo account. But that's, you can also search the log. And again, you can select the date range right here for the log and even export it. So if you're trying to do some research on different things with the log, we make that available. And again, don't forget, we have our help section at the bottom. The inventory one will probably get some work since there's so much with the inventory, we're probably going to do some more work on this help section. Right now, we've just linked to some different articles on how to do some of the things that we've discussed. So, but you'll probably see this improve. We're going to try to continue to keep our help sections good inside of here, as well as our field names and our tooltip help, so that you guys can get the information that you need immediately. One last thing I want to cover that I forgot in a previous session when we were going through the leads, not to get too distracted, but I think it's important enough for me to go back to it. We used to have an update and recalculate button, and it's very confusing to use in my opinion. And so when part of us removing that is that when we did that, we set this up to try to trigger different things to happen every time you make a change, okay? So that's why we see, when we make certain changes, we see these messages show up down here. That is because we are actually doing that calculation work for you. And instead of applying it automatically, those messages and the option to apply or not apply. So I wanted to bring that up because that's a major change that I think is going to help you a lot. Because you don't have to remember to click recalculate. You don't have to remember to click update anymore. All those things will be happening behind the scenes, and you'll have the option and be alerted about them down below. So
I just want to jump in and say that this is our demonstration account, which has a lot of changing data in it all the time. So typically you don't see those alerts as much as Tim is seeing them right now when changing the delivery method. We try to look for reasons when it really just only matters when that happens. And if you've looked at the Office upgrade before and noticed a lot of those alerts, we've gotten more and more advanced on paring down when that alert actually needs to show up. So you'll see those less and less, not every single time you make a change to every field.
That's correct. And you don't have to go through those. You can skip them and ignore them completely. I would encourage you to look through them because we are presenting them to you because these are the things that you have said in our system you want to do. And so we will present those to you so that you realize that this is what I normally do, and I should at least be aware of that. So, okay, so back to inventory. I finished going through kind of the basics of the inventory. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to cover everything that we do. I'm trying to go through specifically the changes that you're going to see as you move to the Office upgrade. So we got 15 minutes here before 3. So I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to ask questions and make comments. Just do a raise hand and we will unmute you and answer your question. And if you haven't been using the chat, I see a bunch of people have been chatting in there and answering each other's questions. So you're certainly welcome to do that. If nobody has any questions, what I'll do is I will unmute you all and allow you to kind of speak. Well, I guess I won't unmute you, but I'll allow you to unmute yourself. And that way you can speak freely as I take a short break. All right, I'm going to take a short break and I'll be back.
You can unmute yourself.
I'll be back at 3 o'clock.
I got a question for you.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Is there any way on the new system with the packing list to do any sort of customization with it at all? Or is it just kind of how you have it gridded out there?
Are you speaking of the actual template?
Yes.
Yes. To a degree. So this is the template that we give you by default. You can change a lot of things in here. When we get down to actually spitting out the list, you can see it's a single variable. That is more difficult to change. So let me go to an example here. So we can take a look at a packing list, although I don't think I'm going to have a very good example because none of these had items on them. Let me see, maybe I'll just add some items to one of them real quick. So I was in the lead, and you can see I just clicked to get to the item that quickly. And I'll go ahead and add something here. And I don't have to actually put the surface in. It understands it. It's all if I don't put anything in. And so let me go ahead and save and close this, and it's going to take me right back to the lead that I was just at. Now I'm going to pull the packing list up. Okay, so if you're asking about changing this content here, that is not possible yet. We can apply certain CSS to it to make it look differently in some cases, but as far as the format goes, we haven't gotten into allowing you to do that in a template yet. Now, we do have some people that have customized their packing list quite a bit. So if there's something specific that you want to do, your best bet is to probably ask us and see if it's available.
Okay, are you guys going to transfer the packing list to the updated system?
All of the data it operates on the same database. So everything that you're working with right now in the old interface, it's already transferred. Like there's no transfer. It's the same data. So okay. It's 2 different ways to view it and 2 different ways to work with it. So if you test out the new system, please don't make the mistake of like deleting a bunch of stuff or because you're frustrated or you're just messing around, because that will affect what you're seeing in your old interface.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. If you think of something later, Cody is available, I think. You can type in the chat, ask someone else, or you can save it until I come back. The next session we're going to be going over is possibly going to make your head explode, because every time I talk about filters, people get a little confused by it. But I'm going to talk about filters and how they work in our new system. I will probably go into more detail on using filters in general for this session, because I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen so that people can take advantage of all the power that it brings. So I'll probably do that. This session 4 of today will not be repeated any other time. We are recording these as long as that is working properly. So we will put it up, but it will not be repeated in the other training days that we have planned. Session 4 will be different in each training day. So, all right, thanks. I'll be back at 3 o'clock.